Welcome, CvCISO Podcast listeners. Welcome to episode 35 of the CvCISO Podcast. Joining me, as usual, is my good friend, Meg, my other good friend, Jordon. What's up, guys?
Hello. Hola.
Hola.
Buenos
¿Cómo
días.
estás? Buenos dias. Hey, so today is Meg's choice of topics, correct?
Sort of.
What do you mean, sort of?
It's my choice, but it's your idea.
We're
'Cause
talking about
last week you
Is
talked
this the
about
OnlyFans page thing?
Wait, we're not ready
No.
to release that information.
Okay, a different idea.
last
Okay.
week when we were talking about routines and habits, then you said it'd be a great idea to talk about routines and habits as a vCISO. And so we're bringing
Because there
that.
probably are vCISOs out there listening to the last one and saying, yeah, but I wanted the juice for for my work. Thanks for telling me to take a shower, but I want the goods on vCISO routine.
Yeah. Well, taking a shower is good for vCISOs, I think.
Like,
I mean, especially if you're doing that face-to-face work,
mhm.
you know, you don't want to smell. Smelling is bad.
It ruins likability.
Yep. Good luck with that customer. Yep. They're looking to cancel the contract. They weren't. So, okay.
So it's bad breath. I mean, that's so.
Just gum. Just put gum in your mouth. You're fine. Gum, Tic
Like
Tacs. What else could you use for good breath?
Listerine.
A toothbrush.
Toothbrush. What's that? Explain. So
Well,
there's a
first-
brush that I would put, like, that doesn't make any sense. I use a brush for my hair. Why would do I use the same brush?
You know, I always wondered, what do they do on Survivor? I think they take sticks and they just kind of chisel it off.
How long does Survivor go? I mean, is it long enough to
It's
where you...
long.
Okay, so you would definitely, really? So you definitely have to brush your teeth in that
Oh, yeah.
at some point. Okay. I don't know what they do. We should Google that. Ask ChatGPT.
I
Then
don't
people like hook up on those shows too. So they're like,
I know.
Yeah,
But
but
if you both have
that's the
nasty
thing.
breath, then I guess it's okay.
If you have nasty breath, just hook up with somebody with nasty breath, and then you both have nasty breath, and nobody cares. Is that how
I
it
still
works?
care.
You still care. All right. All right. So good habits as a VC, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm like not the guy usually with habits and routines. I think if there's one thing, and we were talking about that before we started the show, one thing as a vCISO that I think is absolutely critical is just to be yourself. Don't try to be somebody you're not. You know, this is a relationship, and you want the relationship to be strong, and you want the relationship to be long. You know, so being the real you, that's how you, I think, build that trust, that credibility, even if you don't have experience. I was sharing, before the podcast started about projects that I've worked on where I had zero experience, but I still got the project. And the reason why I got the project is because I was open and honest. Like, I've never done this before, but I'm good at these other things that I have done. And, because there's so much, if you have a strong relationship with the customer, they'll give you grace on that stuff. I mean, you can use them as a training ground and them still get value out of it, right? Because I think a lot of times, especially newer vCISOs, it's like, well, I've never done this before. How do I get the credibility? How do I get the customer? Just be you and leverage your network. This, as I'm doing the work, these are the resources that I might draw upon, people that do have tons of experience, or my certification, my CvCISO, the training that I went through.
sometimes
So
when
that's number one.
Sometimes when I'm pricing something, I was just doing this the other day. I was working with a fellow vCISO that I met through the community, and we're building this package. We both have to deal with similar clients, and we're building this thing together. Sometimes when I price things, and it's a new thing I've never really done, I think about it like, I don't know how this connects to everything, but I think about it like, if I was excellent at this and I built in automations and, efficiencies into it, how long would this take me? And I try to come up, estimate what that would be. And then I say, okay, going rate for a vCISO or a CISO or whatever, what, anywhere between $200 to $300 an hour, maybe. So then I price it high. So I go, let's pretend I'm the best vCISO in the world. And so here's how much it would, how long it would take me. And then here's how much per hour I That's a market rate. And then I ask myself, would I pay someone for that? Like, what's the value I'm bringing, and what is it worth that? And then I finalize something. But now, where I was going with this is that it might take me 3 times longer because it's my first time, and so I don't actually get the market rate. I don't get $300 an hour because it took me 3 times as long. But that's okay because it's my first time doing it.
Yeah. I mean,
someone needed to hear that. I think
Gotcha.
God was telling me to say that to someone. I don't know.
Well, and you're right. I mean, how can you make something you don't have efficient? I mean, the first time you do the project, anything, it's not going to be efficient. The goal shouldn't even be on efficiency. The goal should be, not cutting corners, making sure you're meeting the objectives of the customer, making sure that they see the value in what it is you're doing. And you might lose money on your first project because, you know that the next time you do the project, you're now more confident. You identified numerous places where you can be more efficient. And then, so because I think a lot of times that stops people from starting because they want to get it right. They want to get it perfect out of the gate, right? Most of the routines, when I created the CvCISO program, I took everything that I could think of at the time and put it into the training. So that is the routine that I follow, right? I truly do. That first half of the course is all about just learning security stuff. You can do that pretty much anywhere, right? There's the right way to learn it and the wrong way, right? Because you'll hear things that people say that are just wrong about security. So I think that's first half is not really so much on being the vCISO. It's more just learning security stuff. But the second half is the path I go down. The first thing, before I ever meet a customer, I want to know who they are. I want to try to, because when I'm talking to them, I want to resonate with them. I want them to understand what I'm saying. You can't treat 2 customers the same because they're different. Even though we're going to do the same or similar work, the way I do it is going to be different based on the customer. So, before I ever engage, if I've been brought in by a salesperson and there's like a meeting that they set up with me, I'll find out who's in the meeting and do some of my own OSINT to try to figure out who these people are. And that's where you start the relationship, right? If you start off on the right foot, it makes everything else go so much better.
Sure.
I try to get into their mind a little bit, like, how are they going to view this? And maybe they've written something or commented on something on LinkedIn that gives me a hint, like, all right, this guy thinks that information security is a complete waste of time, waste of money, for instance. All right, well, it's going to change the way I approach that person, the way I talk to that person. Or, they may post something, because opinions and biases always come out, in those things. It gives me an idea of how much explanation I might have to give, how many, if I'm going to have to counter things, if there's an opportunity to educate, maybe change course a little bit with this person. So that's huge. This is a relationship. I mean, we get so hung up on this stuff that vCISOs do, but none of that stuff is going to be worth shit in the long run unless you have a good relationship. So start number 1 with the relationship.
Yeah.
Because there's also value in that. I mean, you try to, you focus so much on like, well, you're going to get this out of the risk assessment and the roadmap's going to be fucking awesome. And man, you're going to have mutual accountability. We're going to be able to score this thing. You're going to be able to track the progress. I mean, all that great shit. But if you have a shitty relationship or you didn't get your relationship off to a good start, they're not going to see the value in it. So if you start with the relationship, and you could even get the second part all fucked up. Like it didn't make any sense what you just said to me, but I like you. I've had numerous people over the years in sales meetings that have said, I don't even know what you do. I just know I want to do business with you. That's the value of getting that relationship started, right?
Yeah. Which is something you're really good at.
Practice.
You do.
I wasn't always like that. Lots of practice. And lots of like getting it wrong, man. I've had my ass kicked so many times in these damn meetings.
At the risk of it feeling like it's a little off topic, but in my brain it's not. because, I have a question about going back to really the start of the vCISO journey, or even beyond, even before that, because I get so many people, literally so many, but in my world, it's a lot. If I get more than a couple people that
Let's
ask me
just
the
say
same
billion.
question, it seems like it's a lot. It's how do they start the journey? Like, is college necessary? Is tech school necessary? Like, if somebody really has a passion to want to be in cybersecurity, and I know it's a mile wide as far as what you could do. It's a very loose term, but what is it certs, education, on the job training? Who's going to hire them?
It's three things, I think. It starts with, what makes great security people is one, it starts with the intangibles. It starts with you, the kind of person you are, why you're in the game, why you want to be a security person. And it's crazy how many people don't give that thought, like, especially the younger generation who are, they all want to be pen testers. It's like, why do you want to be a pen tester? You have lots of people that get into this industry who are new into this industry and they want to be a CISO. You ask them, what's your goal? What do you want to be? I want to be a CISO. Why do you want to be a CISO? Because it's that purpose behind it that's going to keep you on this, whatever path you've determined, right? So that's number one, is intangibles. Number two is education. You do need to get educated, but there's lots of ways to get education, and you should do your own. Right? Is it worth paying $40,000-$50,000, for a college degree for computer science, and then more maybe for a master's degree, or is there another way? And I'm not going to answer. These are all just tools.
Yeah.
Right. It's not the tool. It's how you're going to use these tools, right, to further get you on that path of what you want to be. So, but education is the second one. You could take certification programs. You could go to college. You could go to tech schools. You could go to Udemy. There's just tons of ways. Education has never been more available than it is today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. And
are some preferred over others?
No. You have your own learning style.
Some industries, it's like you've got to have a college degree.
There's a lot of idiots who think you do need a college degree. But but then you ask, college professors what's their biggest challenge right now? And most of them will say it's getting internships for their students. And a lot of them are saying that their students aren't getting hired. And so, I don't know, I feel like I'm the guy that says the stuff that everybody's thinking, but nobody wants to say.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why do you think they're not getting hired? And, it starts this conversation, and I'll tell you why they're not getting hired, because they're not valuable. You're producing products. If you look at a student, because this is just purely business, right? Business is, you take the emotional stuff out of it. If I buy this product, will it further my business? Will it make me more money? And so when you look at a student coming out of college, depending on where they went to college too, right? There are some college programs I think that are much, much better than others. But as a hiring company, we have specific things that we need this position to do. We have tasks that they need to accomplish. There's a list of stuff. And you compare that with what you're getting, from resumes or whatever. And can this person do this? Yes or no? At the end of the day, that's what you're really going through. And a lot of college students can't do what we need them to do. It's almost like you have to teach them anyway. They're missing the tangibles. They're not the tangibles. They're missing the practical application. And so they have a lot of academics, but academics doesn't get projects done.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not like college is a waste of time or money. It's not like it's necessary or mandatory, because it depends. The frustrating thing about college graduates too, getting into this industry, is they've paid so much to get that education. And they have these a lot of them have these unrealistic expectations on what they're going to get paid when they get into the market. And so they get, I've got my degree in blah, 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 security sciences or whatever. And so I'm worth $120,000 a year. And then they hit the market and they're like, nope, you're not worth that at all. And if anything, in some cases, you're worth less than it would just for us to hire somebody off the street and teach them. Because when you come out of college, we have to unteach a lot of stupid shit. Academics, a lot of the college professors don't have good experience. So they're teaching things to students that are from the books, that are from their understanding of information security, but not getting it enough from veterans, I think, that have been out in the field.
Well, that's one of the biggest differences and I can relate to it because really most of the learning that I've done has been theoretical.
Which is good, but you got to be able to take that theory and apply it, right?
Exactly. And if you don't have the opportunities to practice that, then it makes it tougher because then it always sticks it up theory.
Yeah. In education, there's just so many ways to get education. So I don't think one's worse than the other. But then that brings us to the third thing, right? The first thing is the intangibles. The second thing is the education. The third thing is experience. If you want to be good at information security, you need experience. And that's the one that you can't rush. So you have to have realistic expectations of it takes a while to get the experience to become really good at something, right? And so, but there's lots of ways to get experience. It doesn't have to be just on the job, right? Take a pen tester. If you want to be a penetration tester, but you can't get a job because you have no experience, well then hack yourself, hack your house, hack your neighbors. Maybe do some, get permission first. Maybe do some volunteer work, for your K-12 school district. Do some free, low-cost penetration testing things for them. Join some of these, bug hunter programs, bug bounty programs. Do those things. You want to build a portfolio of things. You lack the formal experience working for somebody, but I bring this whole portfolio of all this shit that I've done. Because what I'm seeing then as the hiring person is, again, I have this shit that I need to get done. I can take what you did right there and apply it. So I can see how you can do what I need to get done and you're cheaper. I'd hire that person for sure. But you can't negate or devalue the intangibles. Intangibles for us are always number one. We can teach you security shit. We can't teach you to be a good person,
Right.
And that shows ambition too. That
Oh, for sure.
That weighs, that's more impressive to see someone that took, picked themselves up by the bootstraps and went and did something,
Yeah. Yeah. Cause you gotta look at it like we put out a job posting and you get, maybe a couple hundred resumes. You've got to have something stand out from the noise.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, when they're going through the resumes, they're like, oh, this person really shows some initiative. They did these things without the ego stuff, because that's going to hurt on the intangible side. So it's hard to craft a right resume, but I don't even think they teach you very well to do that in college. I don't know what they teach in college anymore. Is there still colleges? They still have those things?
Yeah, they exist still. Yeah,
they do.
Damn.
But if you weren't,
I remember.
Resume,
I'm paying for their tuition.
Right.
I forgot I'm paying for the student loans. Well, good. At least I feel like I'm contributing.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. We live in a world where all this stuff is at your fingertips. Like you could, without spending a dime, you could do so much to get yourself ready, and that just
What's that gaming site that is it Hack
the Box?
Is it Hack the Box? There's that one site where you can go in and they periodically put out challenges.
Yeah.
Is that what that is? Hack the Box?
Yeah, there's lots of those. There's lots of CTFs out there, lots of bug bounty programs, lots of opportunities to learn. You have to take the initiative. It's not anybody's responsibility to find you a job. It's your responsibility to find a job. You need to sell yourself. You need to have confidence.
You know what's beautiful
And there's
about
so much more to this damn industry than penetration testing. Shit. I don't
the
need any
other
more damn
value we
penetration
get from-
testers. Sorry, man.
No. It just made me think that, like, there's a lot of companies that will pay for your education, you know?
Yeah.
So you might not have to pay to go get that certification ahead of time. If you do all those other things, get hired, then you got a company that will invest in you to get that other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out. I'm going to give a shout out because, this came up as a topic this week. Dave Tuckman. Dave Tuckman's a, CvCISO. He went through the program. That guy is an education sponge.
Yeah.
He takes advantage of just about every education opportunity he can because he sees that as an investment in himself. And through that investment in himself, it's an investment in the customers he's serving. So if you want to be a better vCISO, focus on those intangibles, make sure you know why you're in the game and why what value you're going to provide to people. Because that's going to come out in everything you do. You can try to fake it, like, no, I really care about the customer, blah, blah, blah. It's going to show in the way you deliver, your work. So, not cutting corners, making sure that you're doing things right. And then, all that education is just flowing into what he's doing for the customers. And we all started with zero experience. Just because I'm 30 some stupid years into this thing doesn't mean I didn't start with a day one. I had to do the same thing, even though, I don't have to update my resume anymore and go apply for jobs. I had to do all that stuff, but I had the confidence and, I can have that confidence. Just, you can do it.
Yeah.
But it's not just going to happen either. I can't get a job. Well, you haven't gotten off the couch in 2 days. So guessing that's probably not going to happen.
I think the industry can be confusing too, because,
oh God, yes.
When people talk about cybersecurity, it's like, when people come to me with that question, I'm just like, well, cybersecurity, you got to refine the question because, that is just way too broad.
And I'm one of those guys who thinks that it's confusing on purpose in some cases.
Why is that?
Well, there's more money in it.
When it's confusing?
Yeah, there's more money. When you're confused, it's much easier for me to use emotion to get you to do things. It's much easier for me to use fear. That's why they say fear, uncertainty, doubt. As always, there's a reason why they say that all the time. So I think from that perspective, and I think we've got so much work to do in making more good practitioners in this industry. There's a lot of people out there doing shitty work.
That was a standout point from your recent blog, Evan, the no bullshit one, where it's like asking someone to break it down into a more simpler terms and explain it. Like, that's how you prove that you know what you're talking about. It's not by using all the big fancy words and confusing everything up. Call it out and say, okay, can you re-explain this in human terms now?
Yeah.
And how intimidating is it for you to admit, as somebody who's in this industry, how intimidating is it for you to admit that you don't know that acronym that you just used? You know what I mean? Because then it's like, you don't know what RxKLB is? Like, no, I've never heard of that shit. What is it? Because we almost, like, it's intimidating to admit that I don't know it. And number two, it makes me feel like I'm not sufficient, like I'm not good at this job. You know what I mean? And it's like, so yeah, the more you get to be able to explain that stuff, because if I'm confused, what the hell do you think the customer's feeling?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think in their shoes, because I've been told many times, I got a question, but I don't want to sound stupid. It's like, you're not stupid. Why do you feel that way? Why do you feel like, and I think it's because there's just such a disconnect in the way we communicate, which goes back to the really, really important thing to not overlook the relationship at the beginning of your vCISO project. It's going to dictate the language you use. It's going to dictate the motivations behind the language, the value that they're going to get. I mean, it's just like so super important.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing, typically, I don't like to waste people's time. I mean, I do like to waste your guys' time. But, customers.
I like to have my time wasted.
Yeah. I don't like wasting, the customer's time. So, and it also comes off as being super prepared is once they've signed the contract and we've, then you do a kickoff, typically. A kickoff where they're bringing the people that are going to be involved in the project and you're bringing whatever, and you're explaining how this is going to go. You're answering, asking questions, answering questions, everything's on the table. Gets everybody a chance that maybe wasn't there at the beginning when they signed the contract. It gets everybody there to, okay, so this is the guy. Got it. It'd be nice if you hired somebody who was a little better looking, but we'll deal with it. So you do that. And then I go through an information gathering phase, rather than you may already have documentation and things that will answer a lot of the questions that I have. It's send me all your policies, send me all the procedures, anything you think might relate to information security that doesn't have confidential information in it. I don't want your PII or any of that shit, but I want all the documentation, any prior assessments that you've had, any, all that stuff, so that I can, get familiar with the security side now. And that way, when I ask you, do you have a policy on blah, blah, blah? I already know that. So why waste your time and ask you those questions? That's always a thing that I do.
What do you think your time split is between like meetings or like FaceTime with the client versus work that you're doing just outside of that?
I think in general, it's probably 50-50, probably. Some customers are just more needy. So you spend more time with them. Some customers are more just to the point, done this 1,000 times, just get your shit done, Evan. Then that's usually on the other side of the spectrum. But I don't take offense to either one of those, especially if I've already established a good relationship with them. I just know that they're much more to the point. Give me the shit. I got stuff to do. That's just the way you treat them then. But I'd say overall, if you, lump it all together and were to come up with an average, I think it's 50% maybe-ish on site, 50% making sense of everything and putting together notes, getting the assessment done.
Would you encourage actually going on site in person versus virtual?
Yeah.
If possible.
If possible. Yeah. Yeah. Because, it increases expenses, but if you've priced it right, it's fine anyway. I think but leave it up to the customer at the end of the day, right? Some customers prefer face-to-face. Some customers don't. My preference really doesn't matter as much as yours does. So, if it's in person, let's create a, well, then I'd probably, if it was in person, that's a great question, actually, because I would know that prior to them signing the contract, we would talk about these things. This would all be part of the just get to know you. Because if they are, though, in-person people, then we're going to do the kickoff in person.
Sure helps build that relationship part of it a little faster, I think.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, because people are, you think like, okay, I know what he looks like, but in person is so different.
Mm-hmm.
In person, you see them in context and you're like, oh, that dude's bigger than I thought, or he's smaller. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah. And you get to see their mannerisms. It's super huge. Like there was one customer, one of the last like practicing ones. I was the vCISO for that global travel company, which was awesome. It was a great project. And in terms of price, they were paying like $12,000 a month or something. I don't know what they were paying, but it didn't matter to me. The salespeople do that stuff. I was just focused on, the customer, and the customer was Ukrainian, and his name is Serge. Super important because there's a culture thing here too. They like face-to-face. And Eastern Europe, and I learned this, right, through that upfront work, like in Eastern Europe, getting over the trust piece that's a steep hill to climb. And so the face-to-face was super important because as I'm sitting there face-to-face with him, establishing that trust, establishing that rapport, it took longer than normal to do that because of the cultural differences and all that stuff. But once we got over that hump, best friend. I can't get rid of the guy. We're still friends and I love him, but the value, because had we not gone into COVID then and the travel industry just gone to shit, they would still be a customer today.
Mm.
You know, you get these customers that just are with you kind of forever because they trust you, you're credible. It's just, yeah, it's amazing when you invest in that front end stuff. The tactical work shit, yeah, you'll get that down. But it's the people part that's harder, I think.
Mhm. I feel like a lot of people miss the people part.
Yeah, they do all the time, which is from a business perspective, it's a huge advantage for like FR Secure. But like I said prior to the talk, FR Secure has enough business. You know, we want to help others, you know, grow their business. So I think you'll see more of a focus shift on that. But the reason why we're like that, and I think we've got like $19 million of what do they call it? Work to be done next year that's already booked. You know, so you start next year with like a goal of like, okay, well, our goal next year is $30 million in sales. Well, we already got 19 of it. You know, it's like, shit, okay. Then my job isn't to make a shitload of money. My job isn't to make FR Secure the most powerful security company on the planet. My job is to fix the broken industry. And for us to do that, we need other people.
Yeah.
We need you, you know, I think sometimes to swallow your pride and like, okay, this is a better way to do that, and stop looking at others in our industry as competition and start looking at them as collaborators.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Because we don't overlook the
Actually,
people,
cool.
and that's what makes us more successful, I think, than any of the other security companies. It has nothing to do with hacking. I mean, shit, we all
Yeah.
follow basically the same methodology around, you know, hacking things.
I had a couple thoughts on routines. Did you have some more to touch on for that? I didn't want to interrupt
Me,
your course of
my rant.
Yeah.
No, I have nothing else. The defense rests.
Well, there you have it. This will be our last episode. We've gotten squeezed everything out of Evan that we can possibly get.
Well, we have to wait for the verdict.
Okay, well, I have a rebuttal.
Oh, shit. Did not
Ladies and
expect
gentlemen
this.
of the court, I would like to present to you some routines options for
I object.
vCISOs. Overruled.
Suck.
Well, so I kind of brainstormed this as when I knew this was going to be the topic. So education was a part of it. You know, keeping up to speed, of course. Peer groups, I thought, is one that I would throw in there as a good routine for a VC. So you need people around you, and so joining a group, whatever that might be, and it doesn't. I think obviously being a part of a information security group or a CvCISO group is good, but even just groups that are, if you have a niche, I don't know why I said that so weird.
Niche.
Or an industry specific, you know, a specialty, you know, getting in that if you're doing if you're starting a business as a VC, so having a peer group that's not necessarily information security as much as business owners, I think that's a routine. And in a way too, I think you were reminding me of this too while you're talking, is learning the business side, making a routine to educate not just in your information security chops, but in the business side, so you can speak the business language.
Like their vision and mission and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And getting to know, you know, if you have clients, like make a habit of continuing to learn their business, because there's a lot of reward. I love learning about my clients' business. When I can connect to this, what they do some amazing things. And it's like when I'm helping, you know, a company through CMMC stuff that builds stuff for spaceships and have stuff on the Mars rover. And I mean, it expands and gives you maybe a greater appreciation for what you're doing. You're
Right.
helping
For sure.
secure this very significant and mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times people, you know, going back to the people part too, that it just reminded me as you were talking about that, you're not actually, we talk about businesses, doing business with businesses. You're not actually doing business with the business. You're doing business with the person who works for the business. You know what I mean? So when you overlook that person, the people part, because I've seen so many people get intimidated with like, oh my God, that's Wells Fargo, you know, blah. It's a person who works for Wells Fargo, right? So connect with the person, and through the person, you know, serve the business. Because yeah, they do amazing things and you can feed that. But if you miss the person part, you know, if you do get, it's almost better not to get the business, because if you do get the business, it's going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
a lot of times.
Yeah, I love that. I love breaking it down to the individual, the person. I just made a post on LinkedIn about, that business is personal. Like every business is made up of people, and the person you're dealing with has a story and has hopes and dreams and has kids potentially, or is someone's kid. And I think about like that's been a thought experiment I've been thinking about for a bit, where when I'm dealing with people in the world, like let's say I go to McDonald's or something and I go through the drive-through, the person on the other end of the order and the person giving me my food, I don't actually go to McDonald's that much, but nevertheless, for this analogy, the kid giving me the food, I like to just sit there and think, what if that was my kid? Someday my kid's going to be old enough to have a job, and how would I want him to be treated? Not even necessarily like, we can talk about people that treat people like crap, like, wow, there's no ketchup in this. What are you, an idiot? Or whatever. I would be frustrated if someone treated my son just trying to do his McDonald's gig like that. But then going to the next level, like, and what can I do to just brighten this kid's day? I would love someone receiving a burger from my son and just giving him a smile and saying, hey, man, you're going to do okay.
Right.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's who you're doing business with. Right. Somebody's going to make the decision, and that's why, I think sales teams, like, they identify, what is it, like the sponsor or the, whoever's going to sponsor the project or, whatever, then who's the financial approver, what I mean? They put these people in these spots, and they do that because it's the people, right? It's the people that matter. And even because I've had, numerous customers over the years too, that I told you, I've told the story about when I first started doing vCISO work, it was super immature. It was basically just pay me $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month to be your vCISO. It's like, well, what do you do? I'm your vCISO. I know, but what is that? You know what I mean? But there was enough trust and credibility established in the personal relationship where they just paid it. And then it dawned on me, like, they're paying for shit and they're not getting value in it, right? So, and I literally called them up, like, why are you paying me? But this was so good for the trust and credibility thing, right? I'm like, why are you paying me? And they're like, well, because you're our vCISO. Duh. I'm like, I haven't done anything for you in like 2 months. Well, yeah, but just having you as our vCISO, like, but that doesn't cost you anything. You know what I mean? You can pick up the phone and call me anytime you want when you need something done. But that's I think the mentality of somebody's in this game for the right reasons, right? I don't want your money just for the sake of your money. There needs to be value in it, because otherwise I'm just contributing to the brokenness, I think, of this industry. So we held back on the vCISO work for a while until we figured out a way that we could build mutual accountability, that there was specific things that we were providing for you that you could point to and say, so when I ask that question again, what are you getting? Why are you paying me? Or what are you getting in return for what you're paying me for? Well, now there's a whole list of things, right? So I think a routine that's always been important for me as a vCISO too is to always be in a position where I'm providing value. If I'm not providing value, why the hell am I here? And I think if you take that approach as a vCISO and believe it, it's real, your customers will see that. Trust won't be an issue at all, right? And they'll give you a pass on some of the credibility stuff. Like, I've never done this before. That's okay. We know that we can trust you. We know that you're only going to charge us what's valuable. When you make mistakes, we're not going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it. They have this mentality. And going back to that people part, man, we're going to be friends forever. We'll continue to do security work as long as we keep providing value. And my job as a vCISO is to show you how we're providing value and encourage you to ask me, challenge me. I mean, you should do that. Like, hey, Evan, we're paying you $3,000, $5,000 a month. What am I getting for it?
Yeah.
Gotta be ready.
I mean, that's a good thing, for ongoing accountability, but let alone like just a good exercise from the sales side of it too, because people will pay for something that they see the value exceeds the payment. So if you can understand that and communicate that on the sales side, like here's the value you're getting, once that breaches the amount you're charging for it, or maybe equals it, but I'm sure everyone wants to be.
Always tell the truth, right? Do not overpromise things. Do not oversell things. That destroys a relationship too.
Mhm.
So it's ingrained in our culture, so it makes it a little bit easier. But as a vCISO, if I was working in a place where these things weren't built into the culture of the company that I'm working for, it's carrying yourself this way that I think it's incredibly important as a routine, as a habit. Just be yourself. And people don't want to do business with you because certain people don't want to do business with you because you're you. You don't want them as a customer anyway.
Yeah.
Don't be desperate for any customer. There's lots of shitty customers out there. There's lots of people that, like, I'm a Christian. There's lots of people that hate Christians, that I don't want to do business with you, and they won't tell you why. So being comfortable with like, okay, that's fine. I know that what I do is valuable enough that it helps enough people that I'm not desperate for any one single customer. That was a really important mentality, even from the very beginning with Security Studio, or FR Secure and Secure Studio. But FR Secure was been doing this long enough to know that there's only one way to do this right. And if you don't want to do this right, that's fine. Come back to me. We'll still be here. I'm not going to hold it against you for not choosing us for this project. And we've had dozens and dozens of customers that originally said no, went with something else, somebody else, that came back because, they knew that we had their best interests at heart.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing happens with your vCISO practices. When you're genuine, when you're you, the tactical things aren't that flippin' important. The habits are like, well, do you do the information gathering now or do you do it later? How do you do the interviews? How do you compile the results of your assessment? That stuff does come with experience. You could take it the way we taught you to do it, but you're going to come up with your own style because you're you. That's by far the number one most important habit, is to learn authenticity.
Yeah.
If you are an asshole, just be an asshole. Then you'll work with other assholes.
Well, that's what makes it feel so good when they do come back to you if they left you, or even when someone left an organization and then brought you into their new organization, because it's like they know you and they're still choosing you. Like that's a great feeling. Just like, your wife knows you and she still chooses you.
Well, now I got her pretty much locked in. I mean, she can't go anywhere now. Yeah. No, but yeah, that's
the real
totally,
you,
Yeah. Well, and that's been the piece behind the mission before money. If you focus on the mission, you'll make money. If you focus on the money, you won't make the mission. It truly is that simple. The mission is about being authentic. It's about serving the customers. It's about being part of the solution to broken things in our industry versus being part of the problem, right? And so if I was chasing money, then I would sell out. I would convince you that I'm something that I'm not, just for the sake of getting the project, getting the money, right? That's a really slippery slope. I don't think it's not the way I would ever do it. I know there are, lots of companies out there that do that and are making tons of money. I wouldn't be able to sleep well at night. And I think that makes you part of the problem in our industry. So focus on the purpose, the value, the things that are great about you the things that are great about you as a vCISO are different than the things that are great about me as a vCISO. The thing we have with the CvCISO program is we've all been trained on similar methodologies, right? But even within that methodology, there's so much room and flexibility to do it your way. right? I would never do as the first tactical thing as a vCISO, I would never not do an information security risk assessment. It's that fundamental to understanding how we spend the next information security dollar to provide you the best value.
Mm-hmm.
But I do a risk assessment differently than you do. I talk to people different. A lot of times we just get too wrapped up in like the details of these things, especially if you have never done it before.
Yeah.
And, you just jump in the pool, man. Let's go. That's really what it comes down to. And Spin, if you've really backfilled that great relationship, well, then you'll feel comfortable as well in making mistakes in front of them. They already like you. You're already buddies. So yeah, I get it. You make mistakes. So do I. Let's keep going. Yeah. It's that genuine shit.
Excellent.
Can you whine?
Yeah, I talk too much.
Cool.
But whatever. I got a long beard. Makes me pretty badass. I got tattoos too, by the way. That makes me pretty badass. I should get some piercings. Maybe.
Yeah. I was thinking you need like one right and then schnoz.
I saw a meme with that one, the one with the bowl thing, whatever the hell it's called, that
the
nose piercing thing. And it was taking a 9-volt battery. There's a picture of taking a 9-volt battery and saying how to system reset them, like reset the computer. I thought that was pretty funny. I don't know anybody who's got one of those. But if I did know somebody who had one of those, I would wait for them. I would have to try it. Like, wait for them to go to sleep and just put a 9-volt battery, just do it and see what happened. I'd have to.
They have to.
I mean,
I wonder, that just gives me a little insight as to what you were like as a child.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because that truly is like the hacker mentality. It's like, wonder what happens if I do that. Because I think more people are hackers than they think, right? I always say, like, if you've ever used duct tape before, you're a hacker. It's the same mentality, right? You just...
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a child that pulled a fire alarm, not that I would know anything about this, what does that make that child? An unethical hacker?
Awesome.
The propensity to be?
I mean, that's a subjective question. I would just say awesome. I mean, I guess it depends on why they did it too. Did they just want to see what the reaction was and see what would happen? Or did they want to see how it worked? There's lots of good things that you could learn from pulling one of those. Was it one of those ones that spits
they have like
shit bang the boat?
I feel like I was told that at our school that if you did it, it would like ink would like squirt out so that they know who pulled it.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true or not.
I should have told them that.
I never actually...
That's the same BS that they said about peeing in the pool too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I pee in the pool all the time.
Does it turn purple?
But you could get... They do have an additive that you could put into a pool to make it turn purple.
Would that stop you?
No.
Yes,
it would just add more color to the pool. It's like, sweet. It's got like a purple tint
purple
to it
pool
now.
is so much better to swim in.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, and when you do the math on that, like the parts per million of urine in a swimming pool, it's like zero health hazard, like zero. Because you've got like just our pool. I don't know how many gallons that is, but no, it's true. Because my wife does the same thing. Like when I wash off the pool deck, because the dogs pee on this side over here, not in the pool, but on the pool deck. I'm trying to teach them to pee in the pool, but they won't do it. They pee on the pool deck, and I, wash it down the drain. And Marlis is like, "Don't get any of that in the pool." I'm like, seriously, lady. I mean, just chemistry and math. Like, I would have to dump like probably 50, maybe even more, probably 50 gallons of urine in that pool for it to actually change the chemical makeup of the pool enough to make a difference.
So it might not have any long-term health issues.
I've never peed 50 gallons. That's a lot of pee.
But if I was in your pool and you saw a trail of purple behind me, you'd go around it, wouldn't you?
No, I give you a high five, man. Way to go. Be yourself. No, yeah. Pee in the pool. I mean, it's not going to hurt me. People are like, oh my God, it's like you peed. Ever touched pee before? I touch pee like every time I go to the bathroom. Dribble on something. Come on.
Many golden nuggets for you vCISOs out there from this episode. So,
but that's part about being real, man.
Notes.
I think I love when people are just real. Who doesn't want to do business with somebody who's just real? There's no There's no hidden agenda. There's no like, okay, when's the other shoe going to drop? No, man, this is it. And if you want to be I think a great vCISO, this is like step one, and this is like a really important part of it.
Keep it real.
Amen, brother. Oh yeah, that's right. Feliz Navidad.
Happy Hanukkah.
Excuse me. So I'm not joking.